Now, Zimbabwe's cash crisis is seeing no signs of abating. 6 weeks into his new administration and a recently appointed cabinet, it seems that President Mnangagwa has his hands full trying to find solutions for a persistent cash crunch. Now, the country's new finance minister introduced a new tax that sees consumers taxed 2% of every electronic transaction that they make. And this is because most of the payments being made at this time are done electronically. Now, the minister calls this a necessary pain. But will this fix Zimbabwe's economic woes? Well, economist Eddie Cross joins me now on the line from Zimbabwe. Hello, Eddie. Thanks very much for joining us. Just how bad have things got? I saw the parallel market or black market rate is imploding. I saw a rate of 118% at the weekend.
Yeah, Peter, the situation is that the country has been living beyond its means for about 4 years. During that time, we were shocked to learn the other day when the new minister had made a statement about the build-up of domestic borrowings, which now exceed our external borrowings. We've literally doubled our national debt in the last 4 years. And this increase in the debt has been covered by domestic borrowings in one form or another, but it includes a huge overdraft facility at the Reserve Bank. And if anybody knows anything about monetary policy or economics, you'll know that is really a no-no. The overdraft at the Reserve Bank is 5 times the legal limit. So the inevitable consequence of that is inflation. And what's happened is that in the last few months is that inflation has been gathering momentum. And people are now saying we have to price forward. In other words, we have to anticipate when we buy products for sale. In the future, in a month's time, the price will be substantially higher than it is today. And to give you some idea of how rapidly this thing is moving, in fact, the parallel market for the US dollar here now is almost 3 to 1.
Wow.
So it's moving very fast. As a consequence, people are really, they've got stocks on the shelves they know they cannot replace at the same price. So they're closing their doors and adjusting their prices. You know, it's chaos at the moment. On the other hand, the government is still pretending that the local black market, local rate for the parallel currency, the local dollar, is 1 to 1. They're still pretending that. And so they're undervaluing all the imported items that are using hard currency at this artificial price, which means that we've now got the cheapest fuel in the region, we've got cheapest bread in the region, so these basic commodities are just flying off the shelves. So we've got massive queues today for just about all the basics. Yeah. Certainly fuel queues are, in some cases, kilometers long.
I saw a video over the weekend of a petrol queue that looked anywhere around 2 kilometers long. Is this something that we're seeing across the country?
Yeah, right across the country. Everybody's short. And it's not because they're not releasing foreign exchange to import fuel. They are. In fact, they're increasing the volume of imports. But the problem is the stuff is so cheap that every Tom, Dick, and Harry is now transit border trucks are filling up 1,500, 2,000 liters at the lower price. So the distortion is caused by this artificial price environment created by exchange control at non-market prices.
So,
it's complicated.
Eddie, can we say safely then that the Zimbabwean economy is not US dollar based anymore, but it is actually this local currency, which is the bond note?
That is correct. In fact, the minister for the first time acknowledged that there is now no relationship between the one and the other. But the Reserve Bank governor went on to say that, in his view, that the value of the bond note is still 1 to 1, but it's not true. It's just not true anymore. You can buy bond notes on the market now with US dollars at the rate of 2.2, 2.3 to 1. In other words, you get $2.30 bond notes for $1 US dollar cash. But if you want to buy a US dollar now, you have to pay about 3 what they call RTGS dollars. These are the electronic dollars that most of us are holding in our bank accounts. So effectively what I've got in my bank has been devalued down to 35% in the dollar in the last 2 months.
And of course, this means people's pensions are busy disappearing on a daily basis. This is starting to look and sound and feel like 2008. How close are we to that?
Actually, it's in not bad shape at all. Exports are growing quite strongly, about 20% per annum. I think the minister's estimate of GDP growing at about 6.8% is probably about right. You South Africans will be delighted with those kind of growth rates. It puts us in the upper bracket for African countries. But the problem is, it's these distortions caused by the exchange rates, which are really destabilizing markets. So the solution is quite simple. They have to dump exchange control. That's what we did in 2009, and it transformed our situation from complete chaos and shortages to, plentiful. Everything was in plentiful supply, and there was no inflation. We've got to, I think, basically get back to that thing. In other words, if you're going to play this game, you've got to play by the rules.
Right. So
break the rules and you pay the consequences.
So what you're saying is get rid of the bond note, use the dollar or the rand, and just use pure currencies going forward, and let the chips fall where they may.
Maybe we need you as Minister of Finance.
Okay. Eddie, we're going to have to leave it there, unfortunately, but I'm sure we'll be catching up with you again in the coming days. It's shocking what's happening in Zimbabwe. As I said, this transfer rate or this exchange rate, on Friday, I was quoted 118%, and today it's 3-1. It's remarkable what can happen in just 2 days. Palesa?